Hello everyone, Derek's Damn Toys, and of course, one right after another, we've got another action figure review. Of course, it may not look like that to you, but to me, yeah, we're kicking this straight off into gear as I let the other video edit up edit up the rest of the way and convert into one big video. Anyways, I think I've rambled on long enough, and I've also kind of already messed up a little bit, so why don't we get this Stardust out of his plastic prison right after we take a quick gander at the back of the box. Well, there, quick gander. Boom. Let's get this open now, shall we? Of course, now that we've got the Stardust figure out of the packaging, we can say that he's got two different sets of hands. We'll go over the extra set of hands that's plugged into the figure when we get there. But of course, he's got a standard set of weapon holding or mic holding hands. Nice little detail having the little bit of blue up in there. Of course, maybe not 100% accurate like the other set of hands, but you're not really going to see all that detail anyway, so I don't think that matters too much. And of course, with this figure, he's got a standard black ladder. Of course, if you get the standard version of this figure, as this is technically the chase, the standard version has a ladder with a set of polka dots all over it from WrestleMania 32. So that'll definitely be a figure I have to get to not just have in the collection, but to also be able to pair up with this figure. Of course, getting into the extra set of hands, we've got his entrance or his Stardust taunt hands. Of course, playing a little bit of peekaboo there, hiding his face because he's embarrassed that he has to put face paint on like his brother and act like a weirder version of his brother. Because, that was kind of the whole point of this gimmick, let alone the fact that he did genuinely hate this gimmick. Because if you didn't know, this boy right here is Cody Rhodes. Pre-neck tattoo, so of course he does not have the neck tattoo or anything of that nature. Will say though, this is definitely a really cool figure to have in hands. To have in hands. To have in hand. Of course, taking a good look at the figure and telling him, kind of forcing him to stop playing peekaboo. He's got the little area of blue with the bunch of stars and the silver stripes going from the one side, kind of wraps around to the other, as of course the design is wrapping around to the front as well. It says Stardust on the back nearby his shoulder blades. You've got, of course, the big old star in the front of the, I don't know exactly what to call this, like a singlet leotard thing. I don't know. Of course, the design comes up a little bit onto his arms as well as it did back in the day when he wore this kind of gear. Really cool detail is that they've got the glove cuffs, like sculpt, actually on the wrist, so you can move those, you can take them off if you wanted to. It's nice feeling too. It's a nice little rubber, nothing like too hard. Of course, getting down into the boots, which I want to say it was accurate. A little bit of a different color compared to the boots up here, as this is more of a metallic shine. This is just more of like a matte base version of that color. So maybe not necessarily the wrong color, but the wrong shade. Like I said though, want to say that's completely accurate. Of course, he's got the S in the star with all the other stars going down the side of the boots. It's also on the inner side of the boots. And he's got some nice white soles. Pretty nice figure to have in hand, Honestly, this figure, it does mean a lot to have it in the collection. And, I'll explain why here in a moment, but I think we should get them all posed up and we can talk about that afterwards. Of course, before we get into the final posing and stuff like that, I would just kind of like to take a second to go over this head sculpt, as man, all the little details in there are actually really, really cool, between the painted ears, the diamonds on the part of the star, You know, just all the little nice detail up in there. It does look really cool. Of course, getting into the final thoughts and stuff of that nature, the reason why this is a very special figure to have in my collection, though, just gonna kind of tell that story first. So, it was probably about like 2016. It was shortly before Cody Rhodes left WWE. He was on the live event tour in a city like in my area, you know. So me and my family had went to go see WWE live. This was for the very first time, you know. Very big moment for me, as I've never gotten to see wrestling live up to this point. Always dreamed of being able to do so. Thankfully, live events and stuff of that nature kind of make it a bit more possible. Anyways, around that time period, you know, me and my family, we were kind of going through a little bit of a rough spout. Won't get into very specific details, but for those of you who know, you know, and that's all I really need to say on that. But we were going through a pretty tough time, and at that point in time, Stardust, or aka Cody Rhodes, I got to see him live in the gimmick. It was a pretty surreal moment to be able to see people like him, see people like Randy, see people like Seth Rollins, you know, just a bunch of big names that we still watch on TV nowadays. And some names that we will probably never see again, like Brad Maddox. I can actually say I got to see that guy live. Never really wanted to, but you know, who would have known that one referee who would eventually become the leaker of some pretty infamous videos, not to reference Bobby Fish and his favorite video game series, but you know, some pretty infamous videos. Definitely not going to get into that on here, but let's just say some pretty risque stuff. Anywho, a very valuable time period in my life, and of course, the very first Stardust figure that released, I never got the chance to own it, no matter how hard I tried, because I did want that Stardust figure. Cody Rhodes may have hated this gimmick, but personally to me, because it's my first experience of Cody Rhodes ever in life, it'll always kind of be forever a gimmick that I cherish, like personally to me. Now, of course, since then, I've actually gotten to watch Cody Rhodes live yet again in the American Nightmare gimmick. I actually got to take a picture with him along with my nephew. You know, really surreal time, to just say the least. You know, almost 10 years later, I got to actually like take a picture with this man, and just all the really cool stuff that comes along with being a wrestling fan and attending live events and stuff of that nature. As I also did get a picture with Seth Rollins too, so I'm not gonna throw too much out there about that. But anywho, with that being said, what would I rate this figure? Trying to be as unbiased as I can with how personally this figure means to me. Probably one of my favorite Stardust attires ever. Especially with it being in blue, it's kind of hard not to love it on my end. I'm a very big fan of the color blue. Blue and pink all the way. Anyway, honestly, I think I'm going to have to give it a good solid 8.5 out of 10. The figure moves so, like, beautiful. It's everything I could have imagined it being. And the fact that this is the chase, this isn't even the normal one, this is the chase. So this is going to be the harder one to find out of the two. Honestly, really astounding. Kind of sad I never picked up the other Stardust when I saw it in stores a few weeks ago, but sadly, when you're a little bit broke and you're an adult and you got to worry about bills and stuff of that nature, sadly you can't just always waste your checks on action figures or whatever your hobby is, because this is my hobby. Anyway, I don't know. I think I've rambled on long enough. So, with that being said, 8.5 out of 10. I think that's a pretty good reputable like 4 4.2, almost 4.5. That'd be kind of cutting it close to like 9 status, though, in my opinion. So maybe a good solid 4.2 would kind of be the way to go there. Anyways, with that being said, though, if you liked the video, feel free to like the video. If you didn't like the video, I'm sorry that you didn't like the video, but if you did like the video, feel free to check out some of my other action figure reviews and or pick fed content and or unboxing content, as I do a little mixture of all three. The least one would be the unboxings, as I don't tend to unbox what I'm going to review right away on the channel, but sometimes I like to give you guys a little sneak peek. A little sneak peek never hurts every now and again. But yeah, you know, with that being said, though, if you could also do me a big favor, feel free to subscribe. After all, it is free to subscribe. The subscription and the like definitely helps me go a long way. Of course, as of recording this, I am at 147 subscribers, 3 more away from 150, and you know, that's just really exciting to me. I'm super stoked to be able to say that I've gotten this far in YouTube, and you know, years ago I probably would have never had the, I guess you could say, the nuts to want to do this, as I never knew how I would start it. Then randomly one day I said F it, started it up, invested a little bit into the channel by buying figures I wanted to review. It's kind of how it's always been. I don't buy like complete waves of elite figures and stuff like that, just because I'm not really into every single figure that gets released. But of course, you know, I do go back, try to find some of the classic figures I never owned or haven't owned in a while, like this Elite 4 Fit Finley, which also has a review up on the channel. Any of these bad boys down here, because you know, the Undisputed Era camo gear was definitely hard as shit to get. Sadly, you know, RIP perfectly cut Adam Cole, you know, kind of had to fix him up. Anywho, I think I've rambled on long enough. Feel free to follow me on Instagram if you would like to do that as well, for future updates on the pick fed and stuff of that nature. And yeah, I think we are out of here. Again, huge shout outs to my boy at WPW Figs. Keep an eye out for his pick fed. I know I'm excited for it, and especially because I didn't mention it in the last review, I'm gonna mention it now. Shout out to my boy Todd for not just getting me this beautiful Stardust chase, not just for getting me the 2-pack of MJF versus CM Punk, but for also helping me be able to make this beautiful stage setup possible. Without him, I wouldn't have had this little bit of content, and in my opinion, my stage would still look a little rinky-dink, and it'd just be a little whatever. But again, huge shout outs to him, whether he's watching it or not. I don't know, after all, he does have a kiddo to keep an eye on when he's not working. Can't expect him to be on here for every video. Anywho, much love to you, my boy, and have a great rest of your guys' nights or days whenever you decide to watch this. I am out of here. Peace out, yo.